رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. يروي الإمام مسلم في صحيحه عن سماك بن حرب رضي الله عنه قال: قلت لجابر بن سمرة رضي الله عنه: أكنت تجالس النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. The hadith tonight, collection Imam Muslim, read to us by a tabi'i, سماك بن حرب رضي الله عنه, and he is basically speaking to Jabir ibn Samurah, which is one of the known Sahaba رضي الله عنهم. He's asking him a question, and his question is, did you ever, imagine if you met someone who met the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. We all met people, technically speaking, that hasn't died off, because you can meet, you're meeting, you meet scholars, you meet someone who met someone, who met someone, who met someone, but the chain gets long, and the longer the chain, it kind of gets diluted a little bit. Even though you can probably find a chain of 27, 28 people, which is not that, it's not that long, if you think about it in the larger scheme of things. And this is still within this theme of significance of Masajid, just I'm going to look at it from a little bit of a different angle. But I think it must have been really hard for the tabi'i to accept that he was just one generation late. We don't feel that, because if you're generation number 30, maybe you're 29 or 28, whatever, but if you're generation 2, if you were just born a few years before, you would have met the Prophet ﷺ. That's really annoying, the fact that you didn't meet him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I can only imagine the tabi'een always had questions for the Sahaba about the Prophet ﷺ, and you can find them all through the books of hadith, and they're scattered around, but what they all have in common is it was like an embarrassing question they would ask. They would just muster enough courage to ask one of the Sahaba, what was he like? Just in your own words. No, I know the Quran describes him, and there are things we've memorized, but when you sat with him, when you did it, when you were there, what was it like? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there was always, and those are the best hadith, those are my favorite, because you always get a very interesting description from them, because they had that personal experience. And this one here is not as personal, but it has a nice kind of flavor to it that's related to the theme. فقال جابر: نعم كثيرا. He said, yes, very much. وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم عليه الصلاة والسلام لا يقوم من مصلاه بعد صلاة الصبح أو الغداة حتى تطلع الشمس. And he would never leave the masjid عليه الصلاة والسلام after Fajr until the sun came up. He would stay in the masjid until the same sun came up. He would sometimes recite Quran and do awrad and dhikr, but also he would engage in conversation. وقال: وكانوا يخوضون في أمر الجاهلية ويتحدثون فيضحكون ويتبس. صلى الله عليه وسلم. فإذا طلعت الشمس قام. Whenever the sun came up, he would get up and he would leave. But the Sahaba would be sitting in the masjid, and they would be talking, going back and forth. And sometimes they would be chatting about what happened in Jahiliyyah, just the days of Jahiliyyah. So not necessarily the days that they lived, but sometimes just the stories of the Arab that occurred during Jahiliyyah. And their history is very rich. The Arab knew their history really, really well. Because of the poetry. The poetry was written about every single incident, and they'd memorize a lot of it. So they knew their history well, and they knew the stories of the heroes and the wars and what occurred. So sometimes they would sit there and they'd talk about Jahiliyyah, and they would laugh, because there'd be some incident that occurred that's funny, and the Prophet ﷺ would smile. He would hear them speak, and he would smile. And the reason I'm saying this is because it kind of gives you, I want you to get the idea of the environment of the masjid around the Prophet ﷺ. He came, he prayed, he sat for a while. He did something, others did other things. They would chat, they would laugh sometimes. The Prophet ﷺ sometimes would also contribute. He would come, he would listen. They're talking about Jahiliyyah. He wouldn't come and tell them, Jahiliyyah, you should be talking. No, they're chatting, they're laughing. He would listen, he would smile, ﷺ, and then he'd go on his business. The masjid was a place where they were very comfortable. They were comfortable. Obviously, he pointed out certain things. He taught certain things. Don't come and buy and sell stuff inside of a masjid. Don't come and preach your product, or preach your own agenda, or try to promote your product. Don't do that stuff. Don't talk about haram. Obviously, you're in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But outside of that, they were in there. It was within their element. They felt that they were very comfortable. They didn't feel that they had to be different than who they were. And the Prophet ﷺ didn't feel that he didn't have to be who he wanted to be. He would stay in his mصلاه until الصبح, and he would perform his adhkar and recite the Quran and make dua. And all the scholars throughout history, by the way, did the same. For as long as, till this day, as long as you go back in history, and as far as you go till today, you still find the same habits that they had. But people used to sit around. So when people socialize in a masjid, it's actually a really nice thing. It makes me happy. I love seeing people socialize in the masajid. The only caveat, I think, to socializing in a masjid is just watching out not to basically walk in front of people who are praying or disturb someone who's trying to recite the Quran or revise the Quran. Or, just kind of be mindful of those around you who are trying maybe to perform an act of worship or praying sunnah or making dua or something and doing it too loud. But socializing in a masjid and chatting and sharing good moments is what the masjid is, one of the major functions of the masjid. And this is Jabir ibn Samurah's recollection of the Prophet ﷺ. He reminds him. He remembers him that way. He remembers that after Salat al-Fajr, he could always go and catch him on his own for a moment, ﷺ, because he's sitting in his mصلاه until الصبح. So he could catch him for a few minutes before the sun went up, and then walk with him when he would go and go by and give salams to the groups that are sitting in the masjid who are chatting maybe about الجاهلية, and he'd find it funny if they said something that was worthy of a smile. يروي الإمام مسلم في صحيحه عن سماك بن حرب قال: قلت لجابر بن سمرة رضي الله عنه: أكنت تجالس النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم؟ قال: نعم كثيرا. هنيئا له صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال: نعم كثيرا. وكان صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم لا يقوم من مصلاه بعد صلاة الصبح أو الغداة حتى تطلع الشمس، فإذا طلعت الشمس قام. وكانوا يخوضون في أمر الجاهلية فيتحدثون ويضحكون ويتبسم النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك، أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا.